Did you see my thumbnail? Did you see it? Did you see the thumbnail to this? Oh, I'm happy with that thumbnail. Look at it. I'm going to show you it again now. Have a look at this now. Right? Oh, I'm pleased with that. That is a clickbaity thumbnail. Right? And I've dared to say the thing that nobody wants to say. I have stated on that thumbnail, and it's a question, so I'm not saying I believe it. Remember that. Don't have a go at me. I'm not saying that it's the truth. It's a question. That's how you can veil your toxic opinions, by putting it as a question. Right? I've learnt that from the powers that be. Are some people too stupid to really understand prog? All the proggers out there are going, yes, Andy's finally said it. He's said it. Andy said it. They're ringing each other. If you see what Andy said, he's actually dared to say it. He's dared to say it. Now, why do I have to dare to say this? Because as soon as I say it, remember, it is a question. It's not my opinion, right? Just a disclosure. You must realise that it is a question. I'm not saying I think this. I don't think anyone's out there stupid, especially non-progressive rock fans. You know, Einstein, I don't think, was a fan of Van de Graaff generator. Well, he probably was, because he's been a scientist. He probably would appreciate a Van de Graaff generator. And probably would have gone, oh, there's a band that's named themselves after a scientific apparatus. I'm going to like that band, whatever. So maybe even then, now that's a bad example. Who else is clever? Who's a clever person that I can use an example of somebody who's clever? Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a clever man, isn't he? What do you think he likes progressive rock? Go and look it up now, find out what his favourite band, and report it in the comments right now. But the point is, obviously there's clever people who don't like progressive rock, but there's an idea out there that if you are an erudite, clever, cultured person, you're not going to like progressive rock, because progressive rock is this big, overblown, pretentious style of music that is only liked by teenagers, right? It's a bit like that argument when somebody's arguing with you and they say that that's the opinion that a clever 14-year-old boy would have. If you've seen that on the internet, it really gets on my nerves. Right? It's basically saying you've got a clever 14-year-old boy and they've said something, and we don't have to listen to whether that 14-year-old boy is correct or not and assess it in that way. They might just said the biggest piece of truth in the history of mankind, but we're just going to blow it out of the way by character assassinating them. And this character assassination is what the critics have done to progressive rock. And it's my argument, because these critics, who are very good with words and very good with writing stuff that makes themselves feel very clever, do not like the thought of rock musicians being clever. They want their rock musicians dumb. They want their rock musicians getting drunk and stumbling around and being all rock and roll and just happening to do something which they don't really understand, but the critics do. So they can point at it and say, look at that guy there. He doesn't know what he's doing, but within that is the visceral energy of rock and roll, a statement against the world. It's honest. It's like these stupid people are showing their inner feelings. It's true. It's true. Progressive rock's not true. Iggy Pop's true, right? Now, I'm sure if I sat down with Iggy Pop, who is a very clever man, I'm sure we could find a few progressive rock bands that he likes. The same with John Lydon, very clever man, and I'm sure we can find some progressive rock bands he likes. The aforementioned Van de Graaff generator, for example. So the question is, and I tell you where I come to this idea. And I've told this story many times on this channel, and I'm going to tell it again because some of you might be new and be watching it, but some of you who aren't will have to put up with me saying this, so you can just forward on a little bit. Right, so when I was a little kid, at about 12, 13 years old, I had a picture disc of Hawkwind. Now, Hawkwind are a band that do get included in the sort of progressive rock genre, but I think they're a pretty dumb band. I love them, but it's not an intelligent band. You know, Silver Machine is not an intelligent track to me. It's a big sort of modal jam, and people going, oh yeah, I'm a Silver Machine over and over again. So Hawkwind are a little bit more rock and roll than your average progressive rock band. And I had a picture disc of Silver Machine, which I quite liked. Some kid at school says, I've got this album and it's terrible. It's unlistenable, but you like weird music and you might like it. Do you want to swap it? And I said, well, I've got a Silver Machine picture disc. Now, to me, back then, The currency of a single to an album was unquestioned. An album always trumped a single, even if it was a picture disc. So I thought, I'm going to swap this because I've got 2 tracks on this picture disc, and I'm going to get a whole album. And I don't care what it is. I'm sure it's going to be cool, because he said it was weird, and I like weird stuff. So I went and swapped it. Now, believe it or not, that album was not Captain Beefheart, Trackmaster Replica. It was not Bitches Brew or Ascension by John Coltrane. It was the Yes album by Yes. When I took it home, I was astonished that he didn't like this album. For me, this was what I'd been looking for. It was full of beautiful musical excursions. I could put the headphones on and I could listen. I could really listen to it, right? There's an idea out there that if you're going to meditate, right, that what you do is you put on some drony, uninteresting music and you close your mouth and you breathe in, hold, and you do that with the drony music in the back. You might have a little bit of a joss stick, you know, smoking away in the background, and that, for some reason, if you're middle class, then that is something that makes you a better person. Now, I don't hold to that. I believe that listening to music is meditation. I think that listening to music puts you in the now, but to do it, the music has to be detailed. Music, this is one of the incredible things about music. Yeah, you got your dumb music, you've got all your little music, the music you dance to, music that you drive along in the car, you know, that you put, you know, all that, there's all that music, that's all great, I'm not putting it down. But if you want to get into that meditational state, don't go and listen to some drony music or Steve Reich. Well, you could listen to Steve Reich, because Steve Reich is not simple music. It's complex music. It's progressive rock. You know, there's one I can't remember the name of it because I didn't know I was going to talk about this, but there's a track by Steve Reich. If you go to my playlist on Spotify, which is in the link below, if you go all the way through the prog tracks, I think you might find it. It's in there where he's written a minimalist tune for basically rock band, and it sounds like progressive rock. You know, it sounds like a better version of Tubular Bells. Oh my god, I'm going to get myself in so much trouble here. But Tubular Bells is a wonderful example of what I'm talking about, because Tubular Bells is thematic and it's complex and it moves and it goes one thing to the next. And when you put the headphones on and listen to it, or sit right between the speakers and put the lights down, you have your brain, which is churning away. Intelligent people's brains are always churning away. There was a quote from my favourite film, Matter of Life and Death, where it says, many an intelligent man has been undone by their intelligence. That is a paraphrase, it's not that, but it's something like that. And I believe that's the case. Or I think he actually says, a stupid man never... Oh, I don't know. This is really badly researched, this video is. I got so excited by the thumbnail, so excited that I just come steaming in, and I should have got, you know, if I knew I was going to talk about all these things, because they're all good things. I've got a structure here. So when you listen to a complex piece of music, if you have a musical ear, if you have that ability, and that is partly inherited and it's partly trained, you can train yourself to become a better listener. I know, because I've done it myself. And once you have those skills, you can put your head down and you can concentrate, and that noise that you have, which is causing all the anxieties, all the thinking of ahead of what's going to go wrong, and all the thinking back of all the things you did wrong, that is shut up for a while, which is what meditation is. But you have to have the ability to do that, and you have to have what I would call a music intelligence. Now, when they look at musicians and look at their IQ, musicians do have an elevated IQ, right? This is the case. Now, I know the postmodernists are going to question IQ and say, well, that's cultural and blah, blah, blah. We get into all of this sort of thing. And that's the problem with this question. And this is the very thing that progressive rock does. What progressive rock does is it makes music by intelligent, middle-class, educated people that do references to, you know, literature and philosophical concepts, and they write music which is as complex as the ideas, that weaves and takes you on a journey. And there is a component out there that does not like that, because it's elitist, the very thing it's doing, and that's what they don't like. They smell that. They smell, this is elitism, this is. There'll be people watching this video that feels I'm elitist just bringing up this idea here. Are some people too stupid to really understand prog? Right? Let's try and undo my argument. Let's try and argue the opposite. You could argue that progressive rock is intelligent, but it's not really super intelligent. It's the sort of ideas that are perhaps immature. Now, I think this is the case because progressive rock as a genre was created by people that were barely out of their teen years, right? If you look at something like Peter Gabriel, when Peter Gabriel was recording from Genesis to Revelation, I think he's 18 years old, isn't he? Was he born in 50, 51, something like that? So he's 17, 18 years old, you know. When Phil Collins joins Genesis, I've just done a video on Genesis, so I'm going to be talking about Genesis because they're in my mind. When Phil Collins joins Genesis in 1971, he's 20 years old. These are intelligent, musically brilliant people, but they're young people. And rock and roll has always been music for young people, right? But this is intelligent music for intelligent young people, okay? Now, how do we deal with this sort of merit-driven quality view of the world? Now, there's another problem here, isn't there? Because I believe that there's many places in human experience where we don't want to be going purely on quality. You know, we don't want to. You know, especially when it comes to people. All people are valuable, and I think that without a doubt, humanity has a problem at the moment, which goes way beyond this discussion. And that problem is the fact that, you know, intelligence, obviously, there's people who are really genius intelligence, and there is people that are very, very unintelligent, right? And that's spread out. There's all sorts of different types of intelligence. There's someone who is not great at doing maths, that type of intelligence may be much more compassionate. And I think if we don't value these other forms of intelligence, we make a mistake. But these other forms of intelligence are rooted in the aesthetic. They're rooted in it having a decent understanding of what art is, and at the moment our culture doesn't. So once it is unable to value these other qualities that human beings have, right, because of not being able to value the freedom and aesthetic quality which is based upon our likes and dislikes. For art to really be fluid enough to work, a culture needs to be able to tolerate people's likes and dislikes and put them up for question. As soon as we have a society that will not tolerate people's likes, that what I'm saying is this is people's opinions, really. You have to be able to allow other opinions to come through. It's so important that you allow that to do that. Then aesthetics can develop. And this idea, I think, of stamping down on something because it's too intelligent, with the basic argument that it's elitist. Now, there's all sorts of different arguments that people will go put against progressive rock. What does pretentiousness mean? It means there's a pretense to something that's not real. They're pretending that this is great music, that they're clever people. I don't think that is the case. I cannot see what, if somebody decides to make a rock opera based on the idea of Puerto Rican graffiti artists in a sort of Milton-esque journey to the underworld in New York, that is pretentious. It is what it is. I don't know what it's pretending to be. Is it pretending to be cleverer than it is? Right? I don't see how that is the case. Pretentious would be using a word that you don't understand, but you think it sounds cool. You know, pretentious would be using symbols that you don't actually know what they mean. And I don't have a problem with that with artists, because artists are dealing with the aesthetic. And if they want to bring in elements that they find mysterious and they don't want to understand, and put those into that music and think, well, maybe by putting all this stew together, I will create something that I don't really know what it is. That's what artists should be doing. Artists should be doing what progressive rock musicians do, right? But the truth is that the people, oh God, people keep messaging me today. I'm going to shut this down. The trouble is, I think that there's an elite within, or was an elite within the rock music press, where they wanted to appear that they were the clever ones, uncovering the innate genius of people that didn't really understand what they were doing. If you look at a punk artist, and there's no criticism of punk because I love punk and I think it's a great thing, but if you're saying this punk artist is on stage and they're cutting themselves and, you know, swearing and spitting and they've got no technical skill, but they're out there expressing themselves, they're the ones who don't really know what they're doing. And there is artistic worth in what they're doing, and they may well not have known what they were doing, right? That would be pretentious, except that they're not pretending that what it is. So who is pretending that there's some great artistic achievement there? It's the music critics, isn't it? The music critics are making that. The people who are pretentious, and you know what, this is the case, are the people who put progressive rock down. They are doing it to score points. They are doing it to make themselves look cleverer than you or me. They are trying to get one up on creative artists who dare to push the envelope within a rock music realm. Painters can do it, sculptors can do it, writers can do it, filmmakers can do it, but if you do it within rock and roll, they will not like it, because it's this myth that rock and roll is a dumb, visceral form. Well, it was when it started out. It represented something that the artists that had written those tunes never, thought it represented, but it grabbed the cultural zeitgeist, and oh my god, I can't get the words out. It jumped on the cultural. Oh my god, this is going so wrong. I'm trying my best here, sorry. Zeitgeist. The word is zeitgeist. I'm trying to use a big word and I don't really have control over this word, zeitgeist. What does zeitgeist mean? I ain't got a clue. Something about a ghost, isn't it? I think it's like the spirit of the age. Zeit. What does Zeit mean in German? I haven't got a clue. But I imagine the word means spirit of the age. Well, I'm being very pretentious here. Well, maybe I'm not. If I've got the meaning right. But I attempted to use that word and I stumbled, because I'm not actually that eloquent and articulate to be able to use a word like that. But I wanted to use the word zeitgeist because it would make me seem clever. This is what this is all about. It's criticising people for doing that. Right? I just don't have a problem with it. And all this argument is covering up with the fact, and I'm going to state it right at the end of this video, to understand progressive rock music, you have to have a musical ear, you have to have a brain that can concentrate on form and structure and look at the conceptual ideas that are in there and hold those conceptual ideas because they're going to be referred to at a later date, and understand and follow and listen and be attentive. Right? And people, when they put on a progressive rock record and they say they don't like it, it's because to them it just sounds twiddly diddly and they do not understand it. That is the bottom line. Progressive rock fans out there, right? We have to sit there quietly knowing that you've got to have a brain, you've got to have something between your ears to listen to progressive rock, and knowing it can never be said, because if we say it, we will appear to be the very thing that our critics accuse us of. They will appear to be elitists. But I'm afraid I'm going to tell you right at the end of the video the truth. And the truth is, art is elitist. It has to be. Art deals fundamentally with what is better and what is worse. And what is better and what is worse is not, on the whole, a qualitative judgment. You know, even if you wanted to judge what the best cake was and you could decide to weigh it and you say whichever cake is bigger, whichever is the biggest portion is the one I want because I like a big portion, that is still based upon your idea, your qualitative idea of what makes the cake great. Right? Fundamentally, human activity is not based upon quantity. Quantity sits above a realm which is about quality. And quality is about what we like and what we don't like. Right? And that is primarily aesthetic. And without art, it would just be a random thing and you could like whatever you liked and nobody could question it. But what art does is it comes along and questions what you like and it questions what I like. It is usually the artists themselves questioning the very thing of what they like and what they don't like. And if you think I'm trivializing art by saying it's just about what you like and what you don't like, think deeply upon it. Fundamentally, that is all it is. And that impinges on morality. If we say that killing someone is bad, why is killing somebody bad? We do it in wars. We do it to criminals when we execute them. If someone was attacking me in my home, I could defend myself and kill that person. And you go, yeah, but there are times when you can kill people. Oh, there's times when you can kill people, is there? So it's not black and white, is it? What's based upon? Well, it's to do with the context. Well, who's judging the context? Well, sort of, we are. And what are you judging it on? I don't know. It's like if someone attacks you in your home, you can't just stand there and get killed. You've got to defend yourself. Why? Why do I have to defend you? Well, because your life's worth something. Why is my life worth something and the other person's life isn't? Why is their opinion that they should kill me not a valid opinion? Why should I argue against that by killing them? Well, the thing is that they haven't got a good opinion trying to kill you, but it's all right for me to kill them, and I've got an opinion. Yeah, I know what it's. And the thing is that if you argue it and argue it and argue, it's actually very hard to pin down why it's wrong to kill someone, right? And it is wrong to kill someone, and the reason it's wrong to kill someone because this idea has been negotiated through a very precise mechanism. The arts, people within books, within stories, within music, have made this case. It's shown what it feels like. It's wrong to kill someone because what it makes someone feel like. It's down to your emotions, right? This is why when they make robots, and these robots become our friends, and we sat there having these conversations, not on YouTube, but I can just sit down and talk to my robot and go, well, do you think that you got to be clever to like progressive rock? Well, I think it is the case that there does need to be a certain level of intelligence, but intelligence should not be seen as a marker of human greatness. They wouldn't stutter like that. They'd be able to be. It'd be like ChatGTP. They would just flow out with all this clever stuff, and I'd look at them and go, "Oh my God!" Their opinion's always the same. It's always the bland opinion that the internet's got. I want your opinion. What's your opinion, robot? Right, when we get to that point and that robot's there, if we don't like the robot, can we kill them? I just don't know whether we can. How will we negotiate that? Well, the robot has feelings too. Does it? But those feelings are they're just in the computer in his brain. So are your feelings. I know, but his computer's made out of silicon, and I'm made out of carbon, and carbon trumps silicon. It can't be that, can it? You see, nothing's cut and dried. Nothing's cut and dried, but we have a really good system, and it's called the arts, and that's how we negotiate what is good and bad, what is right and wrong, what is beautiful and what is not beautiful, and those things are all related. And so, let the progressive rockers do their complex stuff. Let artists do whatever they want to do. And the natural process of the arts, if you just leave it alone, will come to pass. And that's precisely what's happened with progressive rock. Here we are 50 years later, and I have a channel where I talk about Yes and Genesis and Pink Floyd, and people are still listening to those albums, right? And they're listening to those albums in their millions. And young people are listening to those albums because there's intelligent young people out there that don't want to just listen to some, 808 beat and someone telling them how great they are over the top of it in a monotone voice. They want to hear a track that takes them on a journey through what it is to exist, which is what Dark Side of the Moon is. It's an incredible thing. And so, yes, I think it is the case. We can all secretly be proud of the fact that we like progressive rock fans, and it proves that we're clever people. Oh, I'm back! Oh, I was writing a rant then. I was writing a rant about how you got to be a clever clogs to like progressive rock. I was right in the middle of it, and my battery run out because I got a new camera. I'm now back on the old camera. Right, and this gives me a chance to just finish this mad talk about aesthetics, which is what I got into in the end, by going, here I am on the rubbish camera. So the quality is not as good and my vocal quality is not as good. and you were watching before, you were on the posh camera with the better vocal quality, right? What is better out of those two things, right? Actual quality in terms of picture quality and audio quality, or the pragmatic quality of being able to, with this camera, just switch it on and film and not have to worry about all this stuff, because I am now talking in a way that is a lot more flowing, because when I'm on the posh camera it feels like I'm doing something important. When I'm on this camera it doesn't. These are aesthetic things. These are the things that make art worthwhile, right? And that aesthetic is in punk rock, right? We don't have to know all about, you know, soloing and in technique and being able to, you know, production. We can just get a few chords. Don't have to be able to tune the guitar, and just get out there and viscerally, you know, express ourselves. And that's a wonderful thing. And when I make videos on this camera, this is a lot more punk in my mind, and it allows me to do something that I can't do with the posh camera. If I had two cameras running and a proper mic and a light, I don't know whether I could do this channel. That's the big thing. I just don't know. I think if I had people working for me to help me to do that, so I could just concentrate on the content and not have to concentrate on doing all the buttons, I might be able to do it. And this raises a certain thing, which I can end this video with now, is that if you want to get me to that point, and I would love to be at that point, I really would, then, you know, if you'd like to support me, I have a Patreon down below, or you can drop a few pennies into my tip jar. I have a PayPal tip jar on the links there, and I would really appreciate it. Because I love doing this, because I love talking about these esoteric forms of music. I love talking to an older generation that have probably been a little bit forgotten about what they like musically, and they're being told over and over again that their opinion is a little bit redundant. And I love getting into the nooks and crannies of what music actually is. And I know a lot of you older people, you're really interested in that. But there's young people too, and one day they might come and watch this channel. You just never know, or we might be able to all live together in harmony, old and young alike, all with our appreciation of progressive rock. Anyway, I'm going to finish there. Sorry I had to go all low quality at the end, but I think it will be an interesting ending to that. And I haven't got a clue where I got to on that video, so I don't know what will happen. Hopefully I can edit it and do something clever with the old editing. It's going to take me about 2 hours to do that. Oh. It's not like the old days when I set this channel up. I used to come in here with this camera, I used to hit record, I couldn't edit because I didn't have any editing software, so I used to take the little card out the thing and I used to pop it into my cube and just upload it. That was it. Didn't used to do thumbnails. The thumbnails or whatever YouTube chose to do. That's how I started off here. That was the good old days, and now it's getting posher and posher, like everything. And one day, I know I'm going to dye my hair. I'm going to dye my hair at some point in an attempt to look more youthful and more appealing, you know, so that the young people don't think they're just a granddad going on, you know. Anyway, I'm at the end of the video. I went into deep thought then, and I shouldn't do it whilst I'm on camera. You see, this is it. I don't know. I do my best, don't I? I do my best. You get a little snapshot. You know that I produce here about 4 videos a week at least. It's like a massive job to do this, and the only way I can do it is because I'm a YouTuber that does not edit. I just talk and I let it all out, right? And hopefully me being crap and going wrong is what people, at least part of what people like when they come here. And what does that tell you about art? I don't know, it doesn't tell you anything. Anyway, I'm going to finish there. Bye bye everybody.